The Afrikaner Kultuurforum disputes findings by researchers that 4 in 5 blacks preferred English as the official language. The AKF claimed that Afrikaans was the most popular second language choice among blacks.
International news. Moscow to join NATO pact. Russia has told NATO it will join the Partnership for Peace plan for close military links with the alliance, a move which will claim fears that Moscow may be set on a course of hard-line confrontation with the West. The Russians say they will definitely join soon. Martin Luther King's killer seeks parole. James Earl Ray, the confessed killer of American civil rights leader Martin Luther King, will go before the state parole board for the first time in May, seeking an early release from his 99-year prison sentence. Ray confessed in 1969 to killing King in Memphis, where the Reverend was helping to organize a strike by sanitation workers. The King David fashion show of 1994 has been a hit at Johannesburg for the past 3 nights. On the other hand, only 13 girls turned up for a top British beauty contest, despite the winner having the chance to go on and compete in the Miss Universe competition. British tabloids suggested the poor turnout at the first stage of the Miss British Isles competition in London on Monday showed that beauty contests were on their last legs.
News from Israel and the Jewish world. The Jewish world, and in fact the international community as a whole, has been dominated by one tragic event whose consequences are still being felt today. On Purim last Friday, Dr. Baruch Goldstein walked into the mosque on the Maarat HaMachpelah. It was during the early morning Ramadan prayers at 5:20 a.m. There were some 700 Arab men at prayer. Goldstein still simply took up his position close to the backs of the worshippers and opened fire, leaving 41 dead and 70 wounded. The death toll has today reached 45. Dr. Goldstein was killed by a group of the worshippers.
Goldstein belonged to the Tznius movement, started by the late Rabbi Meir Kahane, known as Katz. He was born in Brooklyn, New York, studied at the Yeshiva University and at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, where he graduated as a medical doctor in 1980. He married and made Aliyah in 1983, settling in the town of Kiryat Arba, the Jewish settlement in Hebron. There is no doubt that Goldstein was deeply affected by the deaths of many Jewish settlers in West Bank ambushes, as well as in Israel itself, and this was his perceived act of vengeance, for which most people in Israel are deeply hurt and ashamed. Prime Minister Rabin phoned PLO headquarters and told their leader, "I am ashamed as an Israeli that such horrible incident took place here."
A number of Kahane Chai members and their radical rightist individuals have already been disarmed and placed in detention on the West Bank. Security measures are extremely tight all over the country, and Arabs have been banned from praying on the Temple Mount today. Shabbat Shalom.
I want to make one or two announcements. First of all, you've already been told by the people, Mr. Johnson and others who are concerned with our security arrangements, that all items, all top bags, school bags and so on, must be very clearly marked with your name. We've recommended that you actually, in some clear way, paint onto your bag your name. If you don't want to spoil it in some way, you've got to ensure that a security tag with your name on it is affixed to the bag so that there is easy identification. But you must do this today. On Monday, the security people are going to confiscate items that are not clearly marked. In addition, during your registration period today, circulars will be given to you by your form teachers. This regards the efforts that we're making for King David Forest in Jerusalem, Israel. And I want you to take this circular home to your parents, since we would like some of them to contribute towards this. So please, this is forms 2, 3, 4, and 5. Take these circulars home to your parents. The form 1s will be getting these circulars in a little later. To give us some sports news and to introduce sports announcers, Jocelyn J. and Michelle Tannenberg.
International sports news.
Australia were given an Eagle Test fight when key batsman Mark Ward declared himself unhappy with the state of the torn thumbnail. Ward had an end test today and said afterwards that he could not hold the bat properly and may now be doubtful for the first test which starts at the Wanderers today. If Ward is not playing, he could be replaced by either Dean Jones or Matthew Hayden. Pakistan beat New Zealand by 5 wickets in the first of 5 one-day internationals in Dunedin yesterday. Squash. The Dorland Munters Transvaal Open Squash Championships for men and women have been split this year. The women's event will be held from May the 12th to the 15th, and the men's from May the 21st to the 28th, both going first. Canoeing. Springbok player Neil Evans is a stroke away from winning his 4th consecutive Kumasi River Canoe Marathon crown. The fitness of Evan, however, is in question.
Public speaking. The Form 1 teams are speaking at Bishop Baven High School this Sunday. The Form 2 teams achieved A and B plus symbols. Well done to them. The Form 3s are speaking at home this Sunday, on Sunday the 13th of March. And on the 6th of March, the Form 4 teams are speaking at Torah Academy Girls High, and the Matric Prepared team is speaking at home. Also, on Sunday the 6th of March, is the first National Bank Trophy Team event. Kelly Bayer, Gaby Heyman, and Margot Rubin will be participating. And on Wednesday the 9th of March, Neil Goldstein will be representing our school in the Guild Trophy Individual Speaker event. Craig Neeson, our bilingual speaker, spoke very well and achieved a B+, and the Matric Impromptu team also achieved a B+. Well done to all those speakers who have already participated, and good luck to those still participating. All support will be welcome. Girls tennis will be read by Lisa Ackerman, cricket by Dean Bloomberg, and swimming by Craig Neeson and Nikki Levy. Shabbat Shalom.
Girls tennis results for the past 2 weeks are as follows. Last Tuesday, matches were played against De La Salle. The fourth won 32-31 and the third lost 43-20. Last Thursday, first and seconds played St Mary's at St Mary's. First lost 56-25 and seconds lost 71-10. On Tuesday, matches were played against Sandringham and Marydale. The first and seconds played at Sandringham and both teams lost 48-33. The third played Marydale and lost 32-30. On Wednesday, matches were played against Lyndon at home. The first won 45-36 and seconds lost 50-31. Shabbat Shalom.
Good morning. Cricket results for the past week are as follows. Last week, the first round, the quarter-final of the Johnny White was played against Monument. We travelled to Monument and won the toss. We elected for Monument to bat. Monument batted first and made 124 all out. King David were 111 all out. We lost by a narrow 15 runs. Shannon Harris made 36 and Matthew Hayford took 3 for 20. Matches this week were against the Stillians, under 14s. St Stillians were 179 for 1. King David was 71 all out. King David lost by 108 runs. Mayor Roberts, 24 not out. Under 15s, St Stillians were 153 for 5. King David was 78 for 6. King David lost by 75 runs. Zinman, 32 not out. Under 16s, St Stithians were 115 for 7. King David were 85 for 3 after 24 overs. Bad livestock play. Hurstwitz 42 not out. Third, St Stithians were 112 all out. King David were 95 for 6. King David lost by a narrow 17 runs. Grinnebaum 5 for 21. Twydale 22. Second, St Stithians were 187 for 7. King David were 91 for 4 after 16 overs. Bad livestock play. Block 4 for 54 and Newton 3 for 43. First, King David lost the toss and were put into bat. King David made 79 for 5 after 30 overs. The Stithians then went in and were 80 for 4 after 23. King David lost by 6 wickets. Leader 22 not out, Clay 19 not out. This year's cricket season has been a great success, with the first team making it to the quarterfinals of the Johnny White. We have now proved that we are one of the top cricketing schools in the whole of the Transvaal. On behalf of all the teams, I'd like to thank all the coaches. And on behalf of the open teams, I'd like to thank Mr. Levy, Mr. Bailing, and Mr. Robert for their support and coaching. Shabbat Shalom.
Good morning. Even though our season has been extremely short this year, we were able to achieve great results. The Inter-High Gala was held last week. King David came third and remained in the CV, and the following pupils who achieved first and second places were sent through to Prestige. Lex Bayer, N. Levy, G. Silverman, D. Schlesinger, N. Golden, Y. Shamrock, T. Krause, E. Druk, T. Levine, T. D. Pavement, and the Open Medley team who were not defeated in the friendlies and the Covid Gala, consisting of Craig Leeson, K. Bayer, Y. Shamrock, J. Druk, T. Levine, G. Frankel, M. Paper, and N. Levy.
On Thursday night, Prestige Gala was held. Lex Bayer achieved a gold and silver medal, D. Schlesinger a silver medal, and the Open Medley relay team got a silver medal. We would like to thank David Smith, Jody Levine, and Nikki Blumenthal for the dedicated support and help at home minors. We would also like to extend our thanks to our vice captains, Yogi Shamrock and Elisa C. for their efficiency.
The team of 1994, your participation and love for the sport showed its true colours through the season. Without your spirit and dedication towards your school, we would not have been able to achieve what we did. Thank you for your efforts.
To end off our last swimming season, we would like to thank the two people responsible for our success, Mrs. Harvey and Mr. Loxton. Due to your early morning training sessions, your dedicated attitudes, and your excellent organisation, we, the swimming team of 1994, were able to achieve our best. On behalf of the swimming team, we would like to call on Mr. Loxton and Mr. Harvey on behalf of Mrs. Harvey to accept the gift of thanks for their efforts.
Two pupils from Form 1 will present a report back on the Form 1 weekend, Lindsay Weiner and Nikki Orkin.
Good morning. We arrived at high school on the 11th of January. Everyone knew we were Form 1s by our huge suitcases,
small size, and our total amazement at the size of the school. The most frightening thing that we encountered were the matrics. By the way, how many 4-1s can you fit in an all-gold job? Only the matrics know the secret.
After a week, our bibs disappeared and we began to feel more at home in our new school. We had a braai where we met the prefects and they met us.
From the 3rd to the 6th of February, we went on 4-1 weekend with our cases still bigger than us. The prefects did skits, we played Cupid and war games and became Holocaust victims.
Like good little boys and girls, we ate what the prefects told us to eat. We thought it was supper. We were wrong. But seriously, we appreciate all the hard work and long hours that the prefects put in to make 4-1 Weekend 94 so great. But most important, we would like to thank all the teachers for organising such a wonderful weekend. In particular, Mr. Bluff, Mrs. Cotton, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Alchina for all their hard work. We would also like to say a special thank you to Craig for coordinating the whole weekend.
By the way, we were forced to say the speech on the threat of punishment.
Then, Shabbat Shalom.
Give us some information about the Hunting Club, Nadav Kish, Robert Cohen.
Another typical, boring Sunday.
After 11:30,
You take a deep breath of that city air.
you try to find a solution to your boredom, but you can't. You actually do homework,
Well, why not do something different, something challenging?
like getting out into the country where you can breathe that clear, fresh air.
But who says country is better? At least in the city you can see what you're breathing.
But in the city, you don't have a chance to experience our natural environment.
Attention all, hikers. No fear, the hiking club is now here.
On Sunday the 13th, we are launching the King David Dingsville Hiking Club.
We will be taking on a day hike to the Magaliesberg by an experienced member of the Johannesburg Hiking Club. We will be going to a naturally preserved area where only certain hikers are allowed to enter.
Bring your swimming costumes too, because we will be swimming in rivers, waterfalls, and having lunch in a natural waterfall.
The hiking club is here to organize day hikes, weekend hikes, birdwatching courses, camping and holiday tours.
It's up to you to let us know what you want to do.
If you're up to the challenge of our first hike, please get your information forms from either Mrs. Katzenellenbergen in E2 or Mrs. Friedman in the biology lab. First break.
Hand your slips in as soon as possible, as we can only take a maximum of 20 people.
Take a walk on the wild side. Join us next Sunday. Shabbat Shalom.
And to give us some information about the premier, Ramit Shimani, David Tanner.
Good morning. The premier will be held on the 13th of March, called Match to Do About Nothing. Each ticket costs 20 Rand and will be available for myself, Danny Tanner, and Mrs. Joseph. Please support. Thanks.
And now we're on Gary Giddish to introduce our special guest, Mr. Gill.
Good morning. Although Tony Leon needs no introduction for most of us, He has such an impressive resume that I'm sure you'll all find it interesting. Mr. Leon was born in Durban and educated at Curzon College in Natal. Thereafter, he studied at Wits University. He graduated with a BA LLB and served as President of Law Students' Council and Vice President of the Student Representative Council. During the years 1986 to 1989, Mr. Leon lectured in Constitution and Administrative Law at Wits University. His legal training and expertise have certainly provided a superb background for his political career. Mr. Leon was an advisor to CODESA in 1992. He was also a delegate at the multi-party negotiation process at Kempton Park at the end of last year, and he is a member of the Parliamentary Joint Standing Committee of Justice. As reported, Mr. Leon is the provincial leader of the Democratic Party, PWV. He is a member of the Parliament for Houghton, and he is the Democratic Party spokesman on justice and deputy spokesman on constitutional affairs. Besides the biographical details, Mr. Leon is a well-known fighter for human rights and strongly opposes Section 29, detention without trial. And now, it is with great pleasure that I call upon Mr. Leon to address the school.
Thank you very much for that introduction. I'm reminded of the fact that about 7 weeks ago I was in Israel, and when I was there, they have this junket every 3 years. They invite Jewish members of parliament around the world as guests of the Israeli government, and I qualified on both counts, you see. And we met Shimon Peres, a very impressive person, as you know, and he told us a very interesting story. He was talking about the problems that Israeli Air Force pilots face. Now, the one problem Israeli Air Force pilots face is one that you and I have in common. Each of them has a Jewish mother. And he said, the great problem is this: their mothers say to them, son, if you want to fly a jet fighter pilot, make sure that you go slow and you fly very low. He said, but the reality is, if you want to be safe, and you fly in a Phantom jet, you must go very high and you must fly very fast. And he was drawing the analogy between speed and slowness and delay when it came to negotiations. And for the time that most of you have been at high school in this great institution, we have lived through a period of great uncertainty in this country and also a time of great speed, where between 1990 and today, South Africa has transformed itself. And it hasn't been an easy process, but in the totality of time, it has been an enormously quick process. You know, if you think back to last year, time of Pesach, last year, we were really on a knife edge because of the assassination of Chris Hani. Do you think of Israel last week and the activities and the terrible events there against the Muslim worshippers? You would also think that Israel's on a knife edge. And yet somehow progress goes on. And the reason progress goes on and the talks endure and ultimately negotiations succeed is for a very, very simple reason. And it is that there is an inexorable spirit which grips the majority of people, which says we have started this process, we have no option except to complete it. And that is what South Africa in March and April 1994 is about. There is great uncertainty, there's great fear, there are terrible things happening on the streets of our suburbs. Glen Hazel is one example. But the alternative is not even worth thinking about. And what we have to do after April this year is to ensure that the next government, which is going to have a legitimacy and an ability to make sure that its writ can run, that the next government actually gets down to tackle the problems which confront us all. Now, will they be able to do so, or won't they? I understand that over the last year or so you've had some interesting speakers here, some time ago, Mr. Tokyo Sexwali. I think to be politically correct, we should call him Mr. Tokyo Genderwali. But he came here, and apparently a few weeks ago you had Rolf Meyer from the National Party. Now I'm here as well, obviously, aside from to talk a little bit about current events, to give a bit of a plug for my party. There's a very well-known philosopher who appears on Radio 702 called Dr. Paul. And if you're not at school and listening to his program, which you shouldn't be, he'll tell you as well one very interesting fact, which none of you really is of any relevance to any of you here today, and that is that size doesn't count. Now, I suppose that the political message of the Democratic Party is exactly the same. Size doesn't count. But the most extraordinary thing that I have found in this election campaign is that we can go into black areas like Alexandra and Mamelodi, where we were last weekend, and coloured areas like Easterus, and even white areas like Western area and Springs, which are not exactly the hotbed of liberal progressive thought in South Africa. And we go there, and there's some people there who, at a sense of great personal cost to themselves, in many cases, will say, I like what you stand for. I'm going to vote for you on the 27th of April. When I go into the northern suburbs of Johannesburg and speak really to my own people, I come across this kind of whinging, carping thing which says, well, you're very small, you know, and we think that we should be supporting a bigger battalion.